What a student has to do is make the material her own, his own. And the way to make it your own is to connect it to something which is really deeply yours, and it has to be on one level work, on one level play. Deep play is play that connects in various ways. It's not just a game, but it's a game that connects to the whole structure of the way the world works.
The deep play simulations that he encouraged in the classroom, they force you to get a whole comprehensive idea of what's going on in whatever you're studying.
He would pull out props and costumes, so he had wigs and spears and shields, and you really just took all of that and were able to paint a picture of history happening right in front of the class.
We each had to create a character and we had to develop an avatar, and then we would actually act out the avatar. So there was that element of play where we were literally pouncing around the classroom and interacting with each other and playing with each other and playing out these characters with each other.
It made the history come alive. It wasn't just learning about the Spanish Armada, but you were waging war and coming up with battle strategies to beat the other teams.
You build community by a bunch of things, but one of which is a sense of comfort with difference. Another is a sense that we are in this all together. And another that we're in a place where we are trusted and where the prof himself is willing to show his weaknesses, his doubts, his errors, the things he did wrong, so that we can all feel safe at being imperfect.
But once you start kind of building up that kind of community in the classroom, honestly, the discussions get a lot better.
I think what his class really pushed us was to get creative, because legal history can be dull, but he really made us breathe life into it.
We live in a planet full of anxiety, full of mistrust, full of what I call the narcissism of pain, my sufferings are real suffering. What I want you to do is to cast that aside and to always listen to the other guy. Don't try to agree with him, just say, I hear you, when these kinds of things come up. Because I want my class to be an island of safety.
Going into my final exam for one of my classes, he was standing on a chair, helping all of the students, even if they weren't his own, find where they were supposed to sit. And anyone who he knew, he would give them a huge hug and just say, you're gonna do fine, you're gonna do great. So as far as a person, can't speak highly enough of him. And then as a professor, he brought himself down and was able to convey the message and the lessons so that we could understand it, and made it a lot more personable and engaging and actually fun to go to class.
Did they do better? I don't know, but they feel good about it. And I'm saying this partly because I hope that other people do similar things. I have no monopoly on these things. But other profs say to me, how do you do it? How do you do it? The answer is really a question of attitude. You have to say, okay, it's not so heavy. We can do this. We're in it together.
All it takes is a bit of trust in your students and a lot of charisma. And I think that if that were the case, if every teacher had the same philosophy as Tom, you wouldn't have as many people skipping class, you wouldn't have as many people falling asleep for sure, and I'm positive that the marks would reflect that.
I think that Professor Tom Cohen really does try to make sure that every student in the classroom gets as much from his class as they possibly can. And I think that he really does trust his students and he really wants them to learn.
I'd say make a community where the unexpected happens, where interesting things happen, where you're taken outside yourself, where the mind can play, where the whole self can play, where the whole person, the whole student is involved because the whole teacher is involved. And that involvement of the whole person is really body and soul, not just mind. And so you really want students not only to sit and listen, you want them to get up and move. You want them to actually come down to the front and